Okay, let me ask you something. What if everything you thought you knew about your family was a lie? Today, we are diving deep into a story that feels like it was ripped straight from a thriller movie. It's a wild tale of deception, fake identities, and one young woman's absolutely desperate search for the truth.
And this quote, right here, is the heart of the whole thing. These are the words of our main character, Ariana. And you can just feel the pain in that line, right? It perfectly captures the emotional prison she felt she was in, and it really sets the stage for a rebellion that's going to turn her entire world upside down.
So, let's set the scene. We've got 17-year-old Ariana, who's living this super isolated, homeschooled life out on a dusty ranch. The only person she has is her Aunt Paula. And Paula is, well, she's bitter, she's incredibly secretive, and she refuses to answer a single question about Ariana's mom. And all that silence, it just makes Ariana want answers and freedom even more.
And this is really the core conflict, you know? You have two people living the exact same life, but seeing it in completely opposite ways. To Ariana, that ranch is a cage. She feels like a prisoner who's being lied to and held back from the world. But in Paula's mind, she's the protector. She thinks she's shielding Ariana from something dangerous out there. It's the same reality, but two totally different points of view.
Well, all that tension finally boils over when Ariana decides to sneak out and go to a local carnival. And for just a little while, she gets to be a normal teenager, you know, the bright lights, the excitement. She even has a nice conversation with a cute guy. But of course, it all comes crashing down. Paula shows up, drags her away, and just reinforces that feeling that, yeah, she really is trapped.
And then, literally the next morning, everything changes. A fancy car pulls up to the ranch, and out steps this glamorous, perfectly dressed woman named Serena. And she has a bombshell of a claim. She's the mother Ariana was always told had abandoned her.
So Serena shows up and lays out this just heartbreaking story. She paints this picture of herself as a total victim. She says she and Paula were sisters from foster care, and they both worked for this wealthy family. Serena fell in love with the dad, James Campbell, but her jealous sister, Paula, framed her for theft and she was wrongfully sent to prison for 15 years. And while she was locked up, her husband died and Paula just disappeared with their baby, Ariana. I mean, it is the perfect story to win over a teenager who's desperate for a family.
And you know what? It totally works. For Ariana, hearing Serena's story after 17 years of getting nothing but lies from Paula, that's it. That's the final straw. She finally confronts Paula, accuses her of trapping her, and makes that huge, life-changing decision to leave with Serena.
So Ariana is just whisked away into this world of unbelievable luxury. We're talking a California mansion, a bedroom bigger than the entire house she grew up in, servants, the whole deal. I mean, on the surface, it looks like a complete fairy tale come true.
But you know how these things go, right? When something seems too good to be true, it usually is. And pretty quickly, this perfect fairy tale starts to show some really strange and unsettling cracks.
The red flags just start piling up, one after another. First, there's a locked door in the basement that Serena gets super weird and defensive about. Then there's this almost frantic pressure for Ariana to start dating a rich family friend named Lucas. But the biggest red flag of all, when Ariana actually makes a real friend, this kind waiter named Leo, Serena flips out and delivers this cruel threat. Either you stop seeing him or his entire family gets fired and deported.
Okay, so that threat, that's the moment everything changes. It shows Ariana a really ugly, controlling side of Serena she hadn't seen before, and it pushes her to team up with Leo to figure out what is really going on in this house.
And this is where Leo drops an absolute bombshell. Right before he's forced to leave, he tells Ariana that he overheard Serena on the phone, talking to someone about a trust fund in Ariana's name. And for the first time, money, a lot of money, is officially part of the equation.
So what exactly is at stake here? Well, we're not talking about a small savings account. This is a massive inheritance from her father, James Campbell. A trust fund that Ariana gets full legal control of the second she turns 18. And suddenly, Serena's intense, sudden interest in her long-lost daughter starts to make a whole lot more sense. So now Ariana has this terrible feeling, and she goes looking for proof. She searches Serena's room and finds a bag just full of fake IDs and passports, and a single old-fashioned key. This is it. This is the concrete proof she needs that Serena is not who she says she is. And it sets up one terrifying final confrontation.
And that key, of course, could only be for one place in that whole mansion, the one place that was completely off limits. So the question is, what on earth was Serena so desperate to hide behind that locked basement door?
Her father, James Campbell, the man Serena swore had died in an accident 15 years ago, was alive. He was lying right there in a hospital bed, hooked up to all kinds of machines, kept in a medically induced coma.
And with that one horrifying discovery, the entire cold-blooded plan just clicks into place. Serena wasn't her mother at all, she was her stepmother. After she got out of prison, she tracked down Ariana, the key to the entire Campbell fortune. She cooked up that sob story to gain her trust, isolated her from everyone she knew, and the whole plan was to force her to sign away that trust fund the minute she turned 18. And Lucas, he was just an accomplice, paid to keep her busy.
So the truth is finally out, but now Ariana is in more danger than ever before. She's a prisoner all over again, trapped by the very woman who promised her freedom, and the final act becomes this desperate fight for survival.
In this incredible, heart-stopping moment, her father, who's barely conscious, manages to signal her toward a weapon. Ariana grabs it, uses it to fight back against Lucas, and makes a break for the front door, just as it bursts open. And who's standing there? Paula, and Leo, and the police. Leo had managed to get a hold of Paula and warn her, and they got there just in the nick of time.
So in the end, this whole massive web of lies completely falls apart. Serena was never her mother, she was a convicted thief and a con artist. Paula, for all her faults and her own damaging lies, really was just trying to protect her niece. Her father hadn't died at all, he was a victim himself. And Lucas, he was just a hired goon in this monstrous scheme.
And as Serena and her crew are led away in handcuffs, the story ends on this really quiet, powerful moment. Ariana is reunited with Paula, her friend Leo, and her father, who's finally getting real medical care. And for the first time, after a lifetime of lies and feeling trapped, she finally truly feels safe.
You know, Ariana's whole journey was this violent crash between lies and truths about where she came from. But in the end, her safety didn't come from the woman who shared her last name, but from the aunt she fought to understand and the friend she chose to trust. It really makes you think, doesn't it? How much of who we are is about our bloodlines versus the bonds we decide to forge for ourselves.